for our opening review, I'm going to turn to Brian.
All right, I'm going to preface my review with, I don't really like the first Sherlock Holmes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I thought this one wasn't as good as the first one either. So...
Sets it up pretty well.
So what are you saying?
I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I'm saying it's clearly a sequel to a movie that I don't like all that much.
Clearly.
It's got sequel issues, and I think they also have... I don't remember... Did they do, like, the... Go into his head and he, like...
Yes.
Time trip. They did that in the first one as well. Okay, because
not as much.
Clearly, I don't remember the first one at all either. So
yeah,
I just felt like they relied on that too heavily, and it felt like it felt like Michael Bay directed this movie.
No, it didn't feel like Michael Bay directed this movie.
On.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That's like...
All the women kept their clothes on the entire film. Michael Bay did not direct this movie.
And had actually, like, personality.
Yes.
And, you know,
people had
souls.
characters.
Yeah, deep character.
And there was, you know, there was actually a storyline that held together.
How dare it? Respond to him, Steve.
So I actually went into this movie not wanting to like it.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a sequel, and they're just going to pull all the same tricks, and that's how it's going to be. And it does pull all the same tricks, and it just does sort of like, this is what everybody liked in the first one, so we're going to do more of that. But I loved it.
But you still like, yeah. And I was like,
I don't want to like this, but it's so freaking awesome. I'm glad they're doing the, like, in his head what he's going to do, like, several times, because it was great in the first one. I want to see it more. And I'm glad that, you know, he's even more of a, like, drug addict, you know, just complete.
He doesn't want them to get married. He's gonna get completely trashed.
Yeah, he's a reprehensible person, basically.
Yes,
but there's like a sweetness about him, which is kind of like Robert Downey Jr. in general. He's, you know, has, you know, some issues, but there's something about him that's just charismatic. And I think he's a perfect Sherlock Holmes, and this movie even solidified that.
Yeah.
I don't know, everything, the relationship between him and Moriarty it made me want to go and read the books.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there is so much depth, so much complication to this. When they're meeting in their office, just the way they're talking to each other is almost like they're fencing. It's amazing, the dialogue and the way it's going back and forth, and the double meanings to everything, and the layeredness.
I think the dialogue in this and the first one is amazing. I think this movie's very well written. In the sense of the dialogue is fascinating. Like, just the repartee even that he'll have with Holmes. I love. I love the moment when they're trying.
I think he meant Watson.
Oh, Watson. Yeah,
right. With Holmes. Yeah, I love the moment where they're trying to get him to ride a horse. And whatever
Natasha was doubled over laughing.
That's amazing.
That entire scene.
Because when he says, like, it's chaos on both ends, like, in his scene in the middle, I will not have something throbbing between my legs. Yeah, it's just so they get him a pony. And
well, that's exactly how I feel about riding a horse. I didn't laugh throughout this entire movie.
So, Steve, how did you feel about Less Than Zero?
Watching this movie was complicated because, one, I was afraid my kids were going to walk in at any moment. The other thing is, you know, knowing, like, basically Robert Downey Jr. isn't acting in this. Like, he was completely ripped this entire film. And knowing that, it's like, that's probably not makeup, you know, making him look like that. That's probably just how he looked.
Yeah.
And so it was
probably strung out.
Yeah. It's extremely complicated movie to watch. But at the same time, I have a hard time. It's like, oh, you know, poor rich white kids. It's
my biggest problem with plots like this.
Yeah,
you know, the poor rich white kids. You can afford to go to rehab.
Yeah,
like,
your dad sent you to rehab. Your dad can sit there and like play tennis all day. You know, I mean,
I understand that's hard on the psyche, but you know what? I don't care.
You know, but at the same time, it is very affecting when, you know, the party scenes. It's like, you know, thinking about what would drive a person to that point. And so there is some depth to this. There's some, you know, some questions asked by this movie, but it's really hard for me to be empathetic with it at all. just because.
The characters seem out of touch with reality, basically.
Exactly.
They're all in their little microcosm of L.A. that we're rich. Like, you look at the house that the girls go into. She's like, it's this enormous house. I think all four of us could have our entire families live there.
And never see each other.
Yeah, it's like, I have nothing! What are you talking about?
And it's like, what would drive a person with all that stuff to, like, start taking cocaine? I mean...
Or at least,
part of these movies is that's what they're trying to sell you. But then I start to get, like, that paranoid, like, thought, like, they just want to stay rich. I'm like, they just want to tell us that they have problems, that it's bad all over for them.
It's all propaganda.
Yeah. Like, but, this part that's like, tough it up, you know what I mean? Like, the people who are struggling to pay their gas bill. That's
easier said than done. I realize it's the struggle, because, I mean, you can make the same argument to someone who's being abused by her husband. Well, just leave.
Yeah.
But that's a lot easier said than done.
And if that's all that they know,
same,
you expect life to be that way.
When you're outside looking in, it's like, yeah, we'll suck it up. But when you're actually experiencing it, it's hard. But I don't know.
It's still hard to empathize with those kinds of movies.
Do you feel bad for him, though? I honestly, I don't feel bad for him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel bad
I feel bad for the situation. You don't like to see anybody suffer.
Yeah, exactly.
But I honestly don't feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, why are you doing cocaine? Why? Well, because I have too much money and
I mean,
I have not enough
it's a
things
cheap
to do.
high for me.
I mean,
I
I
got a couple
can
titles.
understand.
Okay, don't pick that one. Don't pick that one. Top Gun.
Top Gun.
The pinnacle of Tom Cruise's career.
Ooh. What is the best part of Top Gun?
The
Don't
volleyball
know.
scene.
I was about to say, do not say the volleyball scene.
Yeah, Iceman! Top Gun is one of the cheesiest films I've ever seen.
Though. I remember as a kid, like,
awesomely cheesy, man.
I'm so glad I saw this in theaters. When they re-released it.
They re-released it last year.
This year.
Was it this year?
It was this year.
This year in theaters. And
Yeah.
I missed it.
For like its 25th...
I guess it had to make money.
It's
I mean,
25th anniversary or something. Yeah.
At this point, all it is making money if they show it in theaters. So
yeah. I don't know. It cost money to advertise. Maybe they didn't make that back.
They didn't advertise for it.
No, that's why I didn't know about it.
They just put it out.
I don't feel like I'm at a loss. No, it's funny. You mentioned the volleyball scene, and I'm like, okay, get past that. What else do you think about? There's a lot of little snippets here and there. I don't know.
I think about two things. I think about the aerial stunts, which now are a little aged, but they're kind of cool, and
cool.
they have that like bravado to them, that kind of action movie bravado.
They're not aged enough for China, who used clips from Top Gun in some of their Air Force.
Yeah. And the other thing I think about, I think Top Gun was honestly when I was a young kid, it was one of the first sex scenes I ever watched, and it has that really ridiculous like
80s
what is it the 80s like because they use two songs, they use Danger Zone and
Take My Breath Away.
Take My Breath Away. That's through the entire movie, and so I think of that scene with Tom Cruise and what
Kelly McGillis,
who went nowhere. I like that Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer come out of this, and she went nowhere. She was wonderful in this movie.
See, back then also MTV played music.
Right.
And
Yes.
They had those videos on all the time, and so it was all over the mainstream.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was the question again?
What was the best part of it?
Best part.
I remember as a kid seeing this, and like you, it was like one of the first sex scenes.
It was one of the first sex scenes I've ever seen. It's such a romanticized sex scene.
Yeah. Well, it's so like cliche with the like silhouettes.
Now it is.
Yeah, now it is. It wasn't at the time, but it's the silhouettes and the like whatever. What is that called? Shears, blowing.
The sheer.
It's just ridiculous. But I remember watching this as a kid and like seeing the fighter jets and and
so
playing
cool.
that. Like, let's play Top Gun, and like we'd get our jets and go outside and
Cool.
and we lived next to an Air Force base,
right?
So in California, so it was like we see them flying around, and this was like the movie. My cousin would draw jets, and we'd constantly we'd run and pretend we were jets. I mean, this movie made the fighter jet cool.
Yeah.
Maybe when well, no, you can't say when Goose died.
I was going to say that. That's probably awesome. Probably one of the more memorable parts.
never works. But
Yeah.
you watch it.
Yeah, watch the movie. It'll be funny. It's not funny
It's
now.
not funny.
Watch the movie. It'll be funny. Okay.
Lots of rape jokes. This is inappropriate.
I have a title.
Really inappropriate. Rape jokes? No. With Sherlock Holmes, that's not okay. That's not okay. Sherlock Holmes rape jokes. Not an okay title.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,